Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the 2015 Moto G. This is Motorola's third generation of their semi-budget smartphone, and it comes in at a pretty reasonable $179.99. Now with that price, that gets you 8 gigabytes of storage and 1 gigabyte of RAM for the CPU. Now for just $40 more, $219.99, you get 16 gigabytes of storage and 2 gigabytes of RAM for the CPU. So that's probably the best way to go. Now you can fully customize this on Moto-maker, their website. You can get a red back or all sorts of other different colors, red, green, blue, black. I actually have that back if you saw my unboxing. We also get the choice of a different color front, which white or black, and then this strip here we can customize as well. So we've got all those different choices for a pretty reasonable price. Now powering this device is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 410 that gives you a 1.4 gigahertz quad-core CPU along with an Adreno 306 GPU. It's a pretty fast processor, and to just show you that on this nice display we'll talk more about in a second, if I go ahead and open all of my different apps I've got running, I've had these running for days, and it seems to hold up pretty well. So it's pretty fast, keep all these running. Everything seems to remain snappy, so I can't really complain there. And for a budget phone, it's more than adequate in my testing, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. The display itself is pretty nice. Now, if you've come from some of the higher resolution displays, you'll probably notice it, but this is a 5-inch 720p display. It's IPS LCD and has 294 pixels per inch. So basically, it's the equivalent of, say, an iPhone 6. That's a 720p display, and it's not bad, but it does sit back a little bit from the display, and I don't know that you'll see it under this lighting, but here's the display, and it's actually, the brightness is turned all the way up, and I have auto brightness off. So the brightness is all the way up. It is pretty good in sunlight, but inside under these bright lights, it's a little harder to see. But there's a little bit of an air gap here where it just seems like the screen's set back a little bit. Now for a budget phone, that's not really a bad thing, but on a really high-end display, you might notice it as well. Also, if I turn this off and under really perfect conditions, you'll see some of the light reflecting there. You might not be able to see it, but there's lines in the display that you can actually see, and it's probably used for the touch sensitivity. But I can see these vertical lines that are there, and that may be an annoyance for some people in really bright light. The battery inside the Moto G is not removable, so that's unfortunate, but it seems to be pretty sufficient to get you through a day without a problem. If I pop the back off here with the swappable backs, it's also waterproof too, so if you drop it in a puddle or something, Motorola says it really shouldn't damage it and shouldn't be an issue. You can see there's no battery, but it does have a 2470 milliamp hour battery, so like I said, it should get you through a day without an issue. We've also got our SIM card slot, and then right here we've got an expandable memory up to 32 gigabytes with a micro SD. Now on the back you've also got this portion here where we have a 13 megapixel camera with dual LED flash. Then on the front we have a 5 megapixel camera for forward facing picture and video. You can record up to 1080p on the back with this camera, so it's pretty good, and honestly it's for a budget smartphone camera, it's pretty good. It's comparable to last year's Moto X or the 2014 Moto X. So really pretty good for most people. Now, if you're looking for a really high-end camera, you're going to want to step up to different Android phones in this case. Now, this particular device works only on all GSM carriers. The new Moto X will work on just about everything, but the Moto G works on all the GSM carriers throughout the world and should support those frequencies. It also has Wi-Fi A, B, G, and N, but no AC here. So that may be an issue, well, probably for no one, but it's not built in, just in case you wanted to know. If we turn this on, this runs Android 5.1, so it's pretty nice. It's pretty stock, too. This is about as stock as you get with Android, except for the Motorola features that are built in. So if we just open this up here, you can see it looks pretty stock, and my battery's really low right now, and it's been on standby for quite some time, but we'll just open it up there. Since I last charged it, but I've been using it for the past week or so, and it's been a pretty decent phone. I'm surprised how fast it is. Even though it is a quad-core processor, having a pretty basic version of Android really seems to help that. There's not really any lag or anything like that. It's nice and quick. So for a Motorola phone, this is about basically the same size as last year's Moto X. They basically took last year's Moto X, turned it into a plastic version, just made some replaceable backs, and sold it for less money. That's really what this phone is. So if you don't mind having a plastic version that's waterproofed, which is an advantage over last year's model of the Moto X, this is a really good deal for what it is. I'm hitting all sorts of buttons here, but let's go back and we'll open a browser. we'll just go to my website here, and you can see I mistyped it, but we'll just go to my website. You'll see things load pretty quickly. Could turn on battery saver, but we'll swipe that out. But see, it's nice and fluid, nice and fast, no problems there. If we rotate here, it's nice and quick. And we can do a shake to go right to the camera. That's a Motorola feature that's built in. And you can see we can take some pictures or whatever. It's hard to see in this light, but if I take a picture right there, there's the picture. It's pretty good, but we are under bright light, so pretty optimal lighting conditions as far as taking an image in a well-lit area. So to give you an idea, just size-wise, if you haven't seen this, here's a 1+1, which is a very large phone. Just put them next to each other. To give you an idea, maybe you have a Note 3 in your area. Someone has one. You can see it's not quite as big, not quite as wide. But it is a good size phone. So it's not quite as big as a Note 3, but it is a good size. Plenty thin though. It definitely has a little more thickness or bulk than either of these two phones here, or an iPhone or any of those other phones. But it has a nice curve that you hold it in your hand, and then you can put your finger here in this little, kind of well-known at this point, divot for Motorola. So that's pretty much it. There isn't a whole lot more to go into with this particular device since it's pretty simple and basic, but honestly, it's a pretty good phone for the money. Now, if you've got some sort of deal where you can get the new Moto X or maybe a 1+2 or something along those lines, you may want to hold out for that, but honestly, for $179, or depending on which one you go for, I would go with a little bit more expensive if you can afford the extra $40. Call quality is really nice, and the speakers are actually not bad as well. It's probably not as great as some others, but honestly, for this price range, I think most people will be happy with the quality and the volume that the speaker can go to. If you've used the Moto G, let me know what you think in the comments below. I do like the customizable aspect of this and the ability to swap the backs, and that it's kind of waterproofed a little bit, and that makes it really nice and really nice to use. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.